We go forever now. We go forever and ever, yeah. You know that I'm a trendsetter, yeah. You would say you can do better, no, it won't let.
Welcome to the Autism Planning Session. This is our first live, and it has been a journey. It's just trying to get to the first live. So, I wanted to actually share the screen with you and be able to do like an actual planning lesson for us to work together on some things, but it did not go as planned, as such as life. So, actually, you do have your notes. So one of the things that I did have that was part of the invitation to the planning lab was the planning notes. So in the planning notes, I shared the 6 foundations of pretty much the journey for planning before 18. So we started with the legal protection, which is guardianship, the financial protection, healthcare, the continuity plan, and then 4 is the daily living and independence. 5 is the housing plan. 6 is the care team and advocacy. So this plan is actually just a little bit about my background. My name is Denise, and we are raising a child who just crossed the threshold of being 18. And he has autism, and he was diagnosed almost 1 month shy of 3 years old. And during that time, we were able to learn a lot along the way. But guardianship is something that we totally was not on our radar. So until the 18th birthday, and then working with his care manager, we talked about it then. So that became my crusade of educating and making other family members aware about guardianship. So when we talk about guardianship, we want to, our son has autism again, and he needs one-on-one support. So everyone's in that family dynamics has a different range for their child, and they're going to need different needs. So I want to be able to share my story and to be able to help others because they were not familiar with the guardianship process, and they want to understand what steps to take. So when we talk about a little bit of what is happening, something sparked me also that got me to here is what is going to happen to my child before I can no longer take care of them, or when I'm no longer here. That question I see so many times for so many family members that share that question of what is going to happen. I mean, we even talk about it ourselves. So what is going to happen to our child when we're no longer here? And our job as parents is to protect them and to make sure that they're set up for the best life that they can have in their future. So guardianship is that piece, because what happens at guardianship? One of the things is you are no longer have that control legally for your child. So when, for instance, legally, medical piece, so it started with going to the doctors. When we went to the doctors, that we were no longer able to access records, get information on his behalf until we had to have a health proxy on file. And the guardianship piece was another layer as well. Thankfully, we have doctors that are flexible, that are able to help us along that way in that journey. But a lot of doctors in the medical industry are not so flexible, and you're pretty much stuck of trying to figure it out. So we want to make sure that family members are aware of what happens during that time so we can prevent those things. So when we look at guardianship, we took the steps of, actually there was um, a mom that we worked together trying to find out, well, one, we talked to, when you think of it, since it's a legal process, we talked to some attorneys. So when we talked to the attorneys, they shared a little bit of information during the consultation, but during that consultation, a lot of it is you're going to pay. So it's like $4,000 for us to pay for them to do it, $2,000 for them to process, until I found a DIY, which was a website that goes across all kinds of country, that you can access these records by filling out some questions, and then it's a questionnaire. It took me about 15, 20 minutes just to answer the questions that were online. And then what happened, they spit out all these documents, which was, it's a nice packet, nice and organized, and you have to have it notarized, and you have to have all the documents prepared for, one is the psychiatrist, the pediatrician, or the primary doctor, or any other specialists that are involved with that child. And then two would be for your petitioning the court system, and then you're filling out your pieces to the puzzle in that document. And then you get it notarized, and then we have to submit it to the county for them to review and go through the process. But in that process, it's a journey just to even get there. So again, you have to make sure that your doctors are in place, because another family member, not a family member, but another mom thought that she can just go and just get full guardianship, but not without having the doctor having to deem that person, that individual, is not capable of taking care of themselves. So there's levels of guardianship as well. That's something else that we have learned, that that individual can have full guardianship, or that individual can have, like, there's certain levels of independence that they can have, but then still have people in their lives that can oversee some things, and that person can be legally appointed by the court as well. So these pieces of the puzzle to be in place requires the court to be involved. It requires a judge to look at all the key players and making sure that these individuals are able to protect your child. So one of the things, as I take notes, that in part of that journey of learning of part of the guardianship process, is have a plan B. So we looked at us as the guardians, and then finding out who afterwards, what does that look like afterwards? So one of the things, we had guardianship with our son parallels to guardianship for the elderly. So I've learned that there's a lot of elderly people who are going through guardianship process as well. And so when I started doing some research, there was a couple, it was pretty much a horror story, a couple that had guardianship, and they were in their 80s, and the guardianship wasn't an individual from their family or anything. It was actually a company or an organization, a business, that actually was appointed by the court to be their guardian. I'm not sure how it all arranged. I read it in an article. I'm not sure how that person was put in place, but unfortunately, that person, that organization, took advantage of that couple, of that senior citizen couple. So, although there's there are organizations that are out there, we will look at each organization later, and we'll start doing like a rating system to start evaluating them, finding out if they're a good fit, so I can share it with you as well. So we will do that in the future. But know that if you are thinking about guardianship and you can't see past yourself, there are resources that are out there, such as organizations that can be appointed as a guardian for your child to help them in the next stages of their life. So, but we as parents, caregivers, have to make sure that those people are vetted, those organizations are vetted, and to make sure that we are selecting the best people to help our children in the future. So again, we will do a scorecard, and I will get that once for some reason my computer was not working and I couldn't get that thing online, but I wanted to show you the scorecard. But you have the at least you have the checklist of what we can look at to find out. So when you're looking at, again, our topic is guardianship, so you're looking at from just to take notes. So I have a folder that I created that I tried to put all of our son's documents in one place. If not there, I try to do it digitally. So digitally, I can get to it fast. When someone's calling and they're asking for an IEP, I actually have it. I can just send it through email real fast, so I don't have to go back home and do anything like that. So I created this checklist, this planning notes, to help you along the way for each step of the way, to take notes based upon our discussions, and then what questions you want to explore. So in the future, on our next live, I pray that we get on time, but our next live that we can explore questions. And I know that I had received some questions that I can go over in a moment, but I reached out to some of our my followers that were actually going through this process, and they had some questions as well, and I wanted to address it here. But on the sheet, you can talk about on your scorecard notes when we're looking at it in the future. The topics that we're looking at are transparency. So when we talked about the businesses being elected as a guardian, an organization being elected as a guardian, we want to make sure there's transparency. We want to measure how transparent that company is, and the communication, how big the communication is between that organization and the family members. And we looked at, for in our situation, not just us, but there's going to be a tree of people involved in our son's life, just to say that who can do pretty much put checks and balances in place. So instead of just one person in charge, we want to make sure that there's there's a group of people involved in that process, so they know what is going on. And one person does not have sole responsibility. It can make all the choices. I think when a person has can make all the choices, then there's more risk of control. There's more risk of it being something being done irresponsibly. So we want to reduce the risk by having more people involved in the process. The financial oversight. I know that I recently shared some information online about the ABLE account, and that program is a great tool that unfortunately we didn't take advantage of it, but because we thought of it as I thought of it as like the college program for him as a savings program. But that in that environment, you can use that for your child's needs, like your grocery needs, your housing needs, those things that you can use for finances. If investing in your child's future, starting ahead of time, you can use those resources to help them in their future. The care advocacy, thankfully, we have a great organization that is supporting our son, and they're very, we went through many, so it's a process. But we have an organization that is really on top of what's going on. And we want to look at other organizations that are out there that can be involved as well. And then have a continuity plan. As a former military veteran, I understand continuity plan, because we had to make sure that any time we got into a position, we had to make sure that when we're no longer there, how does the mission still keep going? And how does the mission move forward in success? So we want to apply that same methodology here when we're planning for our future for our child. And what does that continuity plan look like? And then so we start looking, whatever we learn, we look at it as how does it fit into that box of what we need to do in the future in our plan. So I hope that, and then the last thing was using the possible next steps for our planning. So in those pieces, as you move along, as we plan together online, that you're asking these questions. So hopefully you are before 18, so you have time. And even we're at 18 and we're still doing some things that are changing, we have to modify and things like that. So don't think just because you're after it's later, don't think that there's nothing that you can't learn, that there's nothing that whatever you learn along the way, you may want to modify your own plan, because again, we go through the 6 foundations, and one of the thing is the housing plan is what, just speaking of what's one of the questions that I received from a mom, was that they were looking at a housing plan. So they were looking at residential or aging at home. So one of the things that we looked at was aging at home. We didn't want residential, and that's something that every family is different. And then we want to make sure that we can plan that accordingly. So she was asking, like, well, what steps can she take to ensure that her child can age at home? So we looked at it as like, well, do you want your child to age at home in a home that you have to purchase, or are they going to be renting the property? Or there's other models of, are they going to share one property and there's going to have roommates there? There's so many things that we're learning that other families have adopted. I mean, one of the things I met a dad who bought the home, and they their child was higher functioning, but it was able to stay in the apartment upstairs while having his aide staff be able to assist him, and the parents still live downstairs, which gives him independence. So those are just one idea that you can have that can help your child in the future be able to live independent, but still having some oversight as a mom or a dad. So I'm just going to step right here. So when we, again, I appreciate you hopping on and being patient with me. I know that 11 o'clock was my goal, and it came and went. But I'm here, so thank God I'm here, and thank God I was able just to get on and go through just the first step of what we're looking at with guardianship, which is the legal piece, and answer some questions that came along the way. And this will be on replay, so you can check it out later. And then if you have any questions, you can always DM me, leave it in the chat, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. So I hope you have an amazing day. And again, thank you for your patience in this process. I'm still learning all the mechanics of it. So have a great day.
We go forever now. We go forever and ever, yeah. You know that I'm at your side, yeah. You would say you can do better, no, it won't let.